How do Mime Artists? Today there's a load more main stages that have just come out. First up, 601 we have Cricetune. This is a 3-stage one, very easy, another nice way just to ease straight back into doing some of the main stages. I've got Incineroar, Ho-Oh there for Pyre, and then Gengar. Gengar is just completely OP on these 3 Pokemon stages. As you'll see, it takes only a couple of turns. I didn't catch it on my first turn, which was this one, but I'd say another 1 or 2 times going through it and you'll catch it no bother, with a catch rate about 30%, so you could no doubt easily catch it first time, second time. It might take you up to the third time, but beyond that, that's just incredibly unlucky. Any other teams for the stage? I think this is probably the best, but if you've not got some of these, just go with your most powerful fire ones and Gengar. If you've not got Gengar, you can always just try something mildly similar like Blaziken, something like that. But this easy stage, nothing too bad to worry about. Some nice long combos in there as well. Possibly too long, who knows, but long nonetheless. There we go, 71 combo for the last one. If you hit something like that in the first few moves, that could possibly take down more than half its health. You could possibly even beat it in just one move if you were incredibly lucky, but I'd say most of them will take 2 to 3 moves to beat. I didn't want to use a Great Ball for that one, as I do it 1 or 2 more times and it'll be caught. Next up is Bagon. Going in with Latias or Latios, I forget which one's which. There's also Kyurem, Zygarde and Dragonite. Dragonite is just there to be able to Dragonite is just there for the Dancing Dragon's ability, which certainly helps on stages like this. What you want to be doing is trying to match the Kyurem or the Zygarde for the most part. That way the Zygarde will get rid of the unbreakable blocks, the Kyurem will get rid of the Bagons on the side, and Latios, Latias, whichever it is, if you can get that going for its Mega, that's very helpful, although it can be a little bit tricky. There aren't that many moves, and when you're trying to make matches with the Kyurem or the Zygarde, it's easiest just to go straight for them and see what happens after that. Not too difficult of a stage, might take a couple of times. I don't really think it needs any items. Maybe if you're struggling the +5 moves, I think I tried that on one of my runs, and it wasn't the best, but it certainly is helpful nonetheless. There we go, 3 moves left. Not too bad. Latios, Latias, whatever it is, very close to Mega Evolving, but is not really essential. You certainly wouldn't need a Mega Start or something like that. Next up is Cryogonal. I think that's how you pronounce it, with a +5 moves and a Mega Start. This one is somewhat not difficult, but it can just be a little bit of a troll type stage. There's a lot of ice that's going to be on here, so you'll notice a bother along the Reshiram. I tried also bringing along Kabutops along, didn't really work. Just as it's a lot easier to go full fire team, and then you've got the Ho-Oh for the Pyre, which is very helpful. Houndoom is quite useful if you wanted to try something different. You could go for something along the lines of a Tyranitar, not super effective, but would be quite useful in a stage like this, where you can choose specifically where you want to tap away the disruptions. Could be somewhat useful, as Houndoom is only helpful when there are quite a few ice blocks on the field. But nonetheless, it is very specific to the stage and doesn't see a lot to play, so I thought, use it this time, see what happens, and it worked out relatively well. If you want to go in with a different Mega, that's more than fine, completely understandable, as this one is mildly helpful. It's just nice to try something different every once in a while. Reshiram, very helpful. Incineroar is here as well for its Colossal Punch, or whatever its skill is. When you make matches of 4, it sometimes does a lot more damage. Very helpful. I'm not sure if it went off in this run. I did this a couple of times, trying out different ways of doing it, and I used a couple of different items. This, I found, was the best way to do it. Beat it with a few moves left. Plus 5 moves may not be completely necessary, but for me, I just like it as a safety net if I'm using other items. It's just an extra 1,000 coins in there. This time it was necessary for just one extra move, but you might not find it helpful. You choose, see how you feel when you're playing through these. So Croagnol there, 4 moves left. As you'll know, with the plus 5 moves, doesn't change the percentage. Looks like it's probably about 8 or 9, I think, and that'll change if you do it a little bit better. Maybe if you've got your Pokemon to slightly higher levels, it'll work a little bit more. Again, didn't want to use a Great Ball, 55%, might not really be worth it. I'll just do this stage another 1 to 2 times, and no doubt I'll be able to catch it once I get a bit more in tune with it. Next up, speaking of tune, Cricetune, going in with Mega Tyranitar, which is Mega started, Incineroar, Ho-Oh, and Reshiram. Reshiram, again, it's very much a similar stage to that one that we just had, because there are quite a few ice blocks. This one, I thought, why not bring along Tyranitar instead of the Houndoom? Can be quite useful, and it's helpful for getting rid of whichever blocks you specifically think are necessary for getting rid of. This one, much better than to use Houndoom, because in this one, most of them aren't covered with ice, and with Tyranitar you can choose exactly where you want the disruptions to go away, which is very helpful, as a lot of them down the sides will not go away that easily. They're a lot backed up on the Skyfall, so it's very helpful to have that Tyranitar and be able to get rid of quite a few at a time, be able to get more Pokemon onto the field and be able to make greater combos. This one has a lot of disruptions, very regular disruptions. Every couple of turns it's going to be throwing some ice, throwing some blocks. I didn't see the necessity of taking along a Rock Break Pokemon, as they're quite easily gotten rid of with the Tyranitar, and to be trying to get rid of them with a Rock Break, if anything, would just be a little bit inconvenient. So just a couple of moves left with this one, and it's not the hardest stage. You'll need to maybe spend a couple of coins just being able to get it, just making sure that it will be beaten first time around. Two moves left, and that 8%, not the best, but try it another couple of times with some different teams, see how you feel, and you'll be able to catch it, no bother. Next up here we have Kowgunk, not using any items, and a slightly odd team, taking Kowgunk along, and Toxicroak as well, as it's going to disrupt itself with itself a lot. It'll also disrupt itself with a lot of Toxicroaks and a lot of Kowgunks. I forget which one's which, they look very similar. There'll be a lot of disruptions on the board, so it's helpful to take both along. I did try it with just Toxicroak, but there's a lot of with just Kowgunk, but there's a lot of Toxicroak that come on. The countdown for this one is just every couple of turns. It's going to keep disrupting, so if you take both, it'll be quite helpful. It's not going to do that much damage for some of the higher combos, with them not being super effective, but it's the best way. You'll get greater numbers and it'll be better in the long run for when it does count down into those disruptions. And then you've just got Garchomp there, helpful making matches. It's got an okay ability, and the Camerupt isn't really that wonderful for this stage, but anything that's super effective is quite helpful just to have the two of them. Mine's I think's about level 9, Garchomp I think's 10, possibly 11. Just helpful to have some high level Pokemon when you're making those combos. There we go, A rank, not too shabby. With plus 5 moves you'd S rank it no bother. Next up here we have Shellgon going in with Mega Rayquaza. Also I've got, I think that's Clefable? Perhaps, I think it's Clefable, and that's got Rock Break plus 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 plus, however many pluses, as there will be an awful lot of breakable blocks on the stage, so it's very useful to take it along. That way the Rayquaza can make as many matches as possible and help you get some high combos to be able to beat this stage a lot easier. This I think is possibly the best team that I could think of. The Ninetales is there. Its ability isn't really going to be used, but it's another high attack Pokemon, which is somewhat good that isn't a dragon type. You could go the route of taking along the Zygarde, the Curums, that kind of thing, and that would do a lot of damage per turn, but with the Rayquaza you're able to make a lot of combos between the turns. Clefable using that as the main first attack, just to be able to get rid of all the blocks, then hopefully you'll hit into a Rayquaza, get rid of a load of Pokemon off the board and combo. There we go, 2 moves left, again not too shabby, quite an easy one to beat, you know, take along a plus 5 moves and you'll no doubt get it. Next up is Basculin, and this in my opinion is the hardest one so far. For this one, plus 5 moves, Mega Start and a Disruption Delay, going in with a full grass team, so that's Meganium, which is there, very useful to get rid of some of the unbreakable blocks, and occasionally the Basculin itself, with its ability of Stabilize, I think, that might be it. The Alolan Executor has quite a useful skill slash ability in itself, make matches of 4, and it does a ton more damage, so quite a few that we've already seen from the Alolan stages. Shaman, of course, great in any grass team, just to be able to put it to sleep once the disruption delay stops working, as you do not want the disruptions at the start of this. The top 3 rows, I think, and the bottom 3 rows, so pretty much the whole board, are completely filled with Basculin and unbreakable blocks. It's incredibly hard to get out of, and with such a limited number of moves, it's best just to go with the disruption delay and hoping that the Shaman will work in the late game. Didn't get to that on this run, as it was beaten in quite a few moves, so very helpful to take it this kind of route. If you're quite confident that you're not going to get to the stage where you'll need the Shaman, you can take something that's got a little bit of a higher attack power, see how that works out, but this I found to be the best team as of yet. There, 19% onto the Basculin. Again, not the best, didn't use a Great Ball, didn't catch it. I'll try it another couple of times no doubt and be able to get it. Even for the 74%, wasn't exactly worth it. And next up we have Snover, another 3 Pokemon stage going in with Gengar, Reshiram and Snover itself. Very helpful. If you've not got Snover, you can try just taking along another super effective, something like the Ho-Oh to back up the Reshiram. But this stage, very helpful if you've already got Snover, as it will disrupt itself with itself quite a few times. The Reshiram just there, as there will be a lot of barriers on this stage. Quite helpful, super effective, another great one to have along. This, in my opinion, is the best team that I used. I tried it without the Snover, didn't work as well. I think I would have needed a +5 moves to be able to beat it. I think I was maybe 1 or 2 moves left, as you can get some absolutely insane combos. A lot of them may not do the most damage, as you've got Snover on the board a lot. Gengar won't be there for most of the time, but it is incredibly helpful. This is the best team I could come up with. Snover itself is very useful, as it will just keep disrupting itself with itself. And there are some obtusely long combos in this, so I will no doubt just skim right past them, fast forward through them, and just let you see them. It's quite hard to determine because there's a lot of white on the board if the Gengars aren't there, but if you take your time, you'll know which matches are the best to make. And there we go, just the one move left, but doing it a couple of times you'll no doubt get an S rank quite easily, and it's a Pokemon that's already come up, so it's one that you'll no doubt have already, and it's a nice, simple 3 Pokemon stage. Next up is the Toxicroak. The one I keep forgetting the name of. This is a puzzle stage, +5 moves just in there for the safety, as the puzzle itself will take quite a few moves to make. So moving the Bronzong, then the Zubat, then the Bronzong again, Kadabra, Zubat, and then you've got the Skyfall. So feel free to pause it, look at that a couple of times, go over it, see how it's done. It's not that shabby once you get the hang of it, relatively easy to do. You're left with a couple of Kadabras down the left hand of the stage, but they're relatively easy to get away if you get the Camerupt going with the Mega. Can be relatively easy, just sticking one of them down the left hand side. You'll get rid of all of the Kadabras that are left. Landorus is helpful on this stage, as it's got quite high attack power, which is not too shabby. It's not that much of a tanky stage, but it's got quite a lot of HP, especially as with this stage you're not really making that many combos. There's a couple of Toxicroaks on the stage, you might have those, you might have a couple of Kadabras left over. And there we go again, 2 moves left. This, as you'll no doubt have seen, I've already caught it, you might have as well, so it's not one you need to take along for this stage specifically, but it's a nice one to have. Then last up is Salamence, another one you might already have, but going in, using a couple of items, +5 moves, Mega Start and the Disruption Delay. In my opinion, that's plenty. That's possibly more than enough. You definitely will not need a complexity -1 for this one. We have Tyranitar, which has got a couple of candies on it, but I did Mega Start, so that's not much of an issue. There's Mamoswine, as you can get some barriers on this stage. We've got Zekrom, super effective, and it's got Block Smash ++, and Terrakion for power of 4+. So just if I don't need to make any matches with the Zekrom to get rid of Unbreakables, or Mamoswine to get rid of barriers, I can use a Terrakion, try to get a little bit more power just in that match. The Tyranitar, quite useful. Now that the Disruption Delay isn't working, it's not used as much as if you weren't using the Disruption Delay, but there are an obtuse number of disruptions in this stage, so it's very useful. Take along the Disruption Delay and let Tyranitar just help with making some combos, as it's quite good at doing if it's not getting rid of the disruptions. I'm certainly not the best at using Tyranitar. I've not got a fast enough mind to work out exactly where things need to go, but it's relatively useful even for a player like me. I can get my head around how to use it, getting rid of the disruptions when they come up, and just using combos when there are no disruptions. And there we go, very close to not needing the +5 moves, but as I mentioned, it's just nice as a safety net if you're using other items. That way you might not get the full percentage for the catch rate, but it's very helpful just to feel a little bit safer and that you're not wasting your coins on the stages. Thank you very much for watching these new main stages, and how do Mime Artists?
Eggs! Eggs! EGGS eggs!